Hello, good morning, good morning. It is Ty, the LinkedIn guy, and here I am. Today, I want to talk about something that comes up a lot with my clients, and I am sure. I'm probably 100% certain this has happened to you in your sales on LinkedIn. And what I call it is the LinkedIn friend zone. Friend zone. And you know what that looks like? It looks like this. You find someone that you're interested in on LinkedIn. You've done your targeting and everything like that. And you've gone out and you have tapped on their shoulder to connect. Great, you've done a really nice message. It makes sense for them to connect to you. And then you follow it up with a message and the timing of that message. That's really important. So some people stuff that up as well. And there's this whole, I see coaches out there say, wait 2 days, wait 3 days. Rubbish. Straight away. Get in there, guys. Get in there, guys. And there's reasons for that. And that's what I coach to. However, what happens next is you do a kind of message, and there's generally three types of message that I see, and they tend to result in the same outcome, kind of nothing. But if you do actually get into, and I'll talk about those three, but if you do get into a message dialogue with your ideal client avatars, how many times does this happen? When you seem to be going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then you're not quite sure how to bring up your product or service, and you've asked those questions and it just kind of stops. And they just say, hey, thanks, and they move away. Or it goes back and forth and you're asking these questions because you're excited, because you're in a dialogue with someone, and it never goes beyond that. You never again bring up your product or service, or you kind of mention it, but it doesn't go anywhere. You have been friend zoned, right? It's the killer. It's a killer for men and women in real life, especially if you're trying to date. Nothing's worse than the friend zone if you really love someone or desire someone. And that's what you're doing with your clients. Now, the reason for that is because the questioning that you're doing, you are most likely staying in situational questions. Now, if you ever read any kind of sales books and stuff like that, probably one of the better ones out there is Spin Selling. That gives you some really good indicators. But before I knew what they were called, I would call them that kind of question anyway. It's a situational question. Situational questions are used to kind of explore, are used to kind of gain facts and details. The problem is that when you stay in situational questions, you're not uncovering problems usually, right? Because that's another type of question, are problem questions, where you are specifically asking important questions, making assumptive questions about the problems you solve, right? If you're not getting to that stage, if you're not asking those kind of questions and you're only staying in situational questions where you're asking for their opinion, where you're asking for them to make comment, observation, statements about the market, about your industry, even about the product that you have, you'll never get anywhere. You'll never get anywhere. It will stay there. So you've got to then transition into those kind of problem questions where you should know. You should know in your industry the top 5 at least, and there's usually about 10, but the top 5 kind of key bleeding neck problems that your industry target, your ideal client avatar suffers from, and you actually have a solution to that. And you've got to guide your conversation to that relatively quickly. Otherwise, you are going to stay in situational questions. You are going to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until you are friend zoned. And I see that over and over again. You then have to, once you have that problem question, once you've got and transition to talking about and identifying a problem and seeing that they actually have it, you've got to look at those kind of implication questions. And those questions are the ones where it's like, what's the consequence of them not fixing that? right? What's the consequence of that, of them not fixing that? After that, you then get the need, they call it the need, in spin selling in particular, they call it the need payoff questions. Now, those questions are going to really, I think, they're the type of questions that you should leave off LinkedIn. That's when you transition people off LinkedIn. I think trying to sell your solution inside the inbox in LinkedIn is really, really tough. And so many people try that and they wonder why, again, they come across as pushy, salesy, and not effective. And I see that over and over again, right? Those kind of need payoff questions, that's when you're going to be talking about the process, about the value, about the importance of your solution, about how it's going to solve their problems. So that's why in any kind of sales process, I think, and especially for LinkedIn, you can start with those kind of situational questions, right? You can get that rapport. And this is the thing, when you're building rapport, it doesn't have to be about the weather. It doesn't have to, rapport building can still be business in nature. And in fact, it should be. You should be building your rapport with business related situational questions, because then it's easier to transition into those problem questions, right? It's logical. So you've got to start thinking about your sales syntax. When you engage with someone on LinkedIn, are you following a syntax? And you might, write it out yourself in terms of, okay, I'm going to have 2 or 3 situational questions prepped, and then allowing me to very naturally and smoothly move in to those kind of problem probing questions. Right? Making an assumption that maybe they actually have that problem, then moving your question into that implication question, and also sizing them up as a fit for you. Have they just hired someone to solve that problem that they're telling you about? Have they just brought someone on board, outsourced it? Have they just tried to solve that problem and are at execution phase now? But you also want to get that kind of worked out in that after the situation, after the problem, and when you're getting to those implication questions, right? As I said, the implication is really about what are the consequences for them not solving it? Is this a time for them to solve it now? And if it is, that's the break. That's the break where you should be taking people off LinkedIn and getting them into your sales calls. It's on those sales calls that you can start with a really good head start. You know what their main problems are already. You've already got that rapport with them. They've identified that they have a problem that you solve. They're interested to hear about that, and they've agreed to get on a call. Now, you should be getting them on a call within 24 to 48 hours of that discussion, or right then and there. Now, so many people say, well, you've got to, wait a few days and then come back. Rubbish. Organic prospecting, it takes time and takes effort. And it's going to be a small percentage of people at that moment that have that problem. But we're making assumptions and we're stacking our funnel in a way that our ideal client avatars, we absolutely know who they are. We are filtering for the most active players. Our profile is then set up in a way where it talks to those active players and talks about those key problems that are absolutely prevalent in your ideal client avatar's life, and then you're reaching out and getting into these discussions. So there's going to be a percentage that are going to be like, yes, that's something we have. And if you know your niche really well, you've been in it for a little bit of time, you've spoken to clients daily, you're going to get a percentage of them that are going to, yes, that's something that we're suffering from. Take them off LinkedIn right away. Get them onto a call, get them into your sales funnel. Maybe it's like, okay, look, that's a great problem. Hey, I've got a video to watch if you want about that. Or I've got a webinar, or hey, let's get on a call right now. But just remember, the longer it takes for you to get them on the phone after this discussion on LinkedIn, the less likelihood of them actually turning up. Right. So this is why, it's all about action. It's about moving people naturally through a syntax. If they're sitting there on LinkedIn and in a discussion with you right then and there, it probably means they've got some time on their hands right now. They may be filling times between, meetings. And that's why I also like to do a lot of my outreach on quarter hours, because it generally also means that most people start, I don't know why, but we just do. Most people start meetings top of the hour. It just happens, or on the half hours. Rarely does someone start on the quarter hours. It just, I don't know, it's the psychology. So I'm stacking times in my favor that I'm reaching out to people. I know they're using the platform. I see they're using the platform. I'm going to go in for it. I'm going to go in for the sales syntax and taking them through. Now, I'm not coming across as spammy. I'm not coming across as salesy. These are when you have well-defined questions and you are coming across as the expert, you will not be seen as a salesy, spammy person. Where it is spammy and salesy is if you do those 3 horrible messages that I constantly see on LinkedIn, which are, hey, let's connect for mutual benefit. Horrible crap. Or it's the, hey, let's connect. I can see that you and I are in the industry. I'm a LinkedIn coach. If you need any help, book a call. It's like, no, they're not. They're just not going to take action. And the third one is that horrible value vomit where you say, hey, I'm Ty the LinkedIn guy. I'm a LinkedIn coach. I help entrepreneurs do this and do that. Here's a PDF download, the 10 things that will change your LinkedIn profile forever. Here's a video of me talking about blah, blah, blah. And here's a schedule. Please book 15 minutes. Let's chat. Stop it. Stop it. Whoever is coaching that, you tell them that Ty says you're a fool, because it doesn't convert. It doesn't convert. And if you look past in some of the videos I've done in the past, I talk about this over and over. And some of you that are following me intensely are like, here he goes again. But it is so important. It is get that rapport. Get it through situational questions that are about business. Take them through a problem solving, a problem identifying question. Then transition it into the implications and size them up as a fit, and then transition them off the call, off LinkedIn into a phone call. Don't get friend zoned. Do not stay in situational questions, asking for their opinion, going back and forth, commenting on that. The longer that you stay in situational questions, then it gives them a chance to say, well, yeah, it's been great knowing you. Thanks very much. And then you're done. You're done, you're done, you're done. So keep it in mind. Have intent in mind when you are in these discussions that you are going to take them through a syntax. It is vital, guys. It is vital. Avoid getting friend zoned. Avoid getting friend zoned. So that's what I wanted to come in today. If that's something that you really struggle with and you need help and you're sick and tired of being sick and tired of LinkedIn, reach out to me, reach out to the team. We can get on a call, find out what's working with your LinkedIn, what's not working, and where you want to go with it. If it's something that we can help, we'll absolutely tell you so. If we can't help you, I'm going to say no and steer you to a different resource. But 2019, guys, if you are in the B2B space and you are not utilizing LinkedIn, you are leaving money on the table. You are leaving money on the table. But don't just go out and buy any course you see. Make sure you speak to whoever is selling that course or program, because you may not actually be, your B2B client may actually not be an active participant on LinkedIn. And maybe your offer isn't really one that resonates well on LinkedIn. If you drop $1,000, $2,000 on one of those courses, you've wasted your money. So I see it all the time. So make sure that if you're going to go that path, that you speak to an expert who can tell you and can give you the numbers and can give you the insights of what to expect. Otherwise, you're just throwing money away. So guys, reach out if we can help. We will. So that's it for me. See you later, guys.